Nobody expected it to go this far. Not the fans, not the blogs, not even the people who usually stay ahead of entertainment drama before it breaks. But what just surfaced changes the tone of everything that's been unfolding around T.I.'s family. And this time, the focus shifts sharply to King Harris. According to multiple unverified insider claims circulating online, King Harris didn't stay silent behind the scenes. Instead, he allegedly made a move that caught everyone off guard. He reached out to 50 Cent. And not casually, not publicly, not for attention, but privately and reportedly urgently. Sources describe it as a message driven by desperation rather than confrontation. The claim is simple but explosive. King Harris allegedly asked 50 Cent to stop or delay the rollout of a documentary that's been fueling intense speculation across social media. And that's where things immediately take a darker turn. Because this isn't just about a documentary anymore. It's about what might still be inside it. According to the same online chatter, the material that has already circulated, the clips, the previews, the short viral moments, is only a fraction of what exists. People close to the rumors are saying the unreleased footage goes much deeper, touching areas of personal family life and private conflicts that were never meant to be public. If that's even partially true, it explains the panic being described around this situation. Because King Harris allegedly stepping in changes the narrative completely. He's not a bystander. He's not an outsider reacting to gossip. He's someone directly connected to everything being discussed. And if he felt the need to intervene, it raises a simple but uncomfortable question. What exactly is still coming? And why does he believe it's serious enough to stop? Online speculation suggests the message wasn't calm or strategic. It was emotional, frantic, even. The kind of communication someone sends when they feel a situation is slipping out of control. One alleged insider put it bluntly. He wasn't arguing, he was trying to prevent something from escalating. But prevent what? That question is now at the center of the entire conversation. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's side of the story, if you can call it that, adds another layer of tension. While King Harris is allegedly trying to slow things down, reports suggest 50 Cent hasn't backed off at all. If anything, the rollout appears to be continuing, with more clips, more previews, and more teasing moments being released or hinted at online. That contrast alone is enough to fuel speculation. One side allegedly trying to contain it, the other side allegedly pushing it forward. And in the middle of it sits a family already under public scrutiny. To understand why this moment is hitting so hard online, you have to understand who King Harris is in this story. He didn't choose the spotlight, it was placed on him from the beginning. Growing up as the son of T.I., King Harris has lived his entire life in public view. Reality TV appearances, interviews, social media moments. His development wasn't private. It was documented. Every phase of his life became content in some form. And that kind of upbringing comes with pressure most people never see. Because while the public watches you grow, they also start forming expectations about who you should become. And that's where the tension started early. King has had moments where he pushed back against that image, moments that went viral, moments that sparked debate, moments that turned into online arguments about respect, parenting, and identity. Some people saw rebellion. Others saw a young man trying to define himself outside of a powerful legacy. But every time something happened, the internet reacted loudly. And over time, that pressure doesn't disappear, it builds. Now add the documentary into that environment. Because according to online claims, this isn't a general entertainment project. It's being described as something that includes personal angles, behind-the-scenes interactions, and family dynamics that were never meant to be public. Even without confirmation, the idea alone is enough to escalate tension. Because suddenly, this isn't just about fame or controversy anymore. It's about exposure. And exposure changes everything. That's why the alleged message to 50 Cent is being treated online as a turning point. It suggests someone close to the situation believes the content crosses a line that cannot be undone once released. But here's where things get even more complicated: control. If the documentary is already in motion, control shifts away from the people involved and toward whoever is releasing it. And that's where 50 Cent becomes central to the conversation, not just as a name, but as a decision maker in how and when content is delivered. And that's what makes the situation feel so unstable online. Because on one side, you have concern about what's still unreleased. On the other side, you have momentum T. Hat doesn't seem to be slowing down. And in between, you have silence from the people most affected. That silence is doing what silence always does in situations like this. It's filling the gaps with speculation. Some interpret it as legal caution, others see it as strategic restraint, and others believe it signals that more is happening behind the scenes than anyone realizes. But none of that is confirmed. What is confirmed is the reaction online: escalating curiosity, divided opinions, and constant attempts to decode what's real and what's exaggerated. Because the more details leak, even unverified ones, the more the story expands beyond a simple family narrative. It becomes about power, media control, public perception, and how quickly personal moments can turn into public content in the digital age. And King Harris allegedly stepping in only intensifies that conversation. Because it suggests something important. Not everyone involved feels comfortable with where this is going. Whether that means the content is sensitive, misrepresented, or simply overwhelming in scale, the reaction alone is enough to shift public attention. At this point, the situation is no longer just about a documentary. It's about what people believe is in it, and what they fear might come next. And until something official is said, or until the content actually drops, the internet will continue doing what it does best in moments like this, filling silence with theories, fragments, and interpretations that may or may not reflect reality. For now, one thing is clear. This story hasn't slowed down. It's still moving. And according to the way people are reacting, the next development could shift everything again. Reports circulating online suggest that King Harris didn't react publicly this time. Instead, he allegedly made a private move that caught everyone off guard. He reached out directly to 50 Cent. But what's being emphasized isn't just the contact itself, it's the emotional weight behind it. Sources describe it as desperation, not confrontation, not anger, not negotiation. A moment where someone feels like things are slipping out of control and tries to stop it before it reaches a point of no return. And that immediately raises the biggest question of all. If King is reacting like this privately, what exactly is still in that documentary? Because what has already been released has been enough to spark debates, breakdowns, and non-stop discussion across social media. Clips have been analyzed frame by frame. Old interviews have been rewatched with new context. Every detail is being reinterpreted in real time. So the idea that there is still unreleased footage out there makes everything feel heavier. Not just controversial, but potentially damaging in ways that can't be reversed once it's public. To understand why this situation is hitting so hard, you have to look at the position King Harris has been in for most of his life. He didn't grow into fame slowly. He was born directly into it. From reality TV appearances to viral social media moments, his life has been visible from a very young age. People didn't just watch him grow up. They commented on it, judged it, and compared him constantly to his father, T.I., a figure known for discipline, control, and influence in both music and culture. That comparison never really stopped. Every time King expressed himself, it became public discussion. Every emotional reaction turned into a clip. Every disagreement turned into commentary online. Over time, that creates pressure that doesn't fade, it builds. Now add something like a documentary into that environment. Not just any content, but something allegedly focused on personal moments, private interactions, and family dynamics that were never meant for public release. That shifts everything. Because now it's not just fame anymore, it's exposure without control. Insiders claim the situation escalated when King allegedly contacted 50 Cent directly. But what people are focusing on isn't just the message, it's the tone. Reports describe it as urgent and emotional, not strategic, not calculated, a plea more than anything else. One source even suggested he wasn't trying to argue or negotiate, he was trying to stop something from going further. And that raises another uncomfortable question. What is he trying to protect people from seeing? Because 50 Cent, known for structured and strategic content releases, hasn't reportedly slowed anything down. In fact, speculation online suggests the rollout may still be continuing in phases, which only adds more pressure to an already volatile situation. That contrast is what's making things feel so unstable. One side allegedly trying to contain the situation, the other side reportedly continuing forward. And in the middle of that tension sits King Harris. What makes this even more complicated is the timing. The documentary didn't appear randomly. It started gaining attention at the exact moment conversations around T.I.'s family were already active online. That timing has led many to believe this isn't accidental, it's strategic storytelling. From there, opinions split. One group sees it as entertainment content being released in parts to build engagement. Another group believes it involves real private material that was never meant for public consumption. And the difference between those interpretations changes everything about how the situation is viewed. Because if it's just content, it's controversy. But if it's real, it becomes something much more serious. The emotional impact is where things start to shift most heavily. According to claims, King isn't reacting like a public figure. He's reacting like someone watching his personal life being broken down, edited, and released without control over how it's presented. That kind of situation doesn't just create stress, it creates identity conflict. Every clip changes perception, every reaction changes narrative, and every comment online adds another layer of pressure he can't control. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's role in all of this adds another dimension. Known for calculated rollouts and structured releases, nothing he does is typically random. That's why many believe the documentary is being released in phases, with each part designed to build momentum and attention. If that theory is accurate, then what's already out may only be the setup, the foundation, the beginning. And that thought alone is what's intensifying reactions online. Because if the current reaction is based on early material, then what happens when more is released? That uncertainty is what's driving everything right now. Social media has turned into a divided space where one side believes something serious is being exposed, while another believes the narrative is being exaggerated or misinterpreted. And in between those extremes is a growing group of people who believe the most important parts of the story still haven't been revealed. That's where the tension sits now, not in what is known, but in what is. Because no one outside of the situation actually knows what King Harris allegedly saw. No one knows what he's trying to stop, and no one knows what's still unreleased in the documentary. And that gap between information and silence is exactly where speculation grows fastest. At this point, the situation has moved beyond simple entertainment discussion. It's become about control, narrative, perception, and private reality being pushed into public space. King Harris is allegedly trying to contain it. 50 Cent is reportedly continuing forward, and the public is left trying to piece together fragments of a story that still doesn't feel complete. And that's why everything feels unstable. Because every new detail raises more questions instead of answering them. Every clip deepens the conversation instead of closing it, and every silence feels louder than the words being spoken. Right now, the only thing that's certain is that the situation is still unfolding. And until everything is fully revealed or fully stopped, this story isn't over. Some people are still repeating the same line, "Truth is truth, let it come out." But that idea is now clashing hard with a growing wave of pushback. This isn't truth, this is exploitation. This is going too far. Somebody needs to stop this before it destroys everything. And that shift is what makes this moment different from everything that came before it. Because now the pressure isn't sitting on just one person anymore. It's not only T.I. in the spotlight. It's not only King Harris caught in the middle. Now all eyes are turning toward 50 Cent. People aren't just watching what he releases next. They're watching how far he's willing to take it. Whether he continues pushing forward or decides to pull back before things spiral even further. But just when it felt like the situation had reached its peak, something else entered the conversation. A viral post started circulating late at night, claiming there is still more footage. Not just edits, not just clips already seen online, but additional material that hasn't been released yet. And according to the post, it's the part they really don't want out. Now, whether that claim is true or not almost doesn't matter anymore, because the idea alone was enough to shift the entire tone of the conversation again. If there is more content sitting unseen, then this situation isn't cooling down at all. It's building. It's escalating. And fast. That's when the focus shifted back to one central question. What exactly is 50 Cent holding back, and how much of it is still coming? Because if King Harris is already allegedly trying to stop the rollout behind the scenes, and it's not slowing down, then whatever comes next might be even heavier than what's already been shown. And that thought alone is what pushed everything into a new level of tension. Overnight, what was already a viral controversy turned into something closer to an industry-wide crisis. Reports began surfacing that another wave of documentary clips had been released or leaked, and this time, the tone felt different. These weren't short, unclear snippets anymore. They were longer, more detailed, more direct. And the reaction online shifted immediately. At first, people watched with curiosity. Then curiosity turned into concern. And then concern turned into discomfort. This isn't even entertaining anymore. Why does this feel so personal? Something about this isn't right. That shift is important. Because when audiences stop reacting like viewers and start reacting like witnesses, the entire meaning of the content changes. It stops being entertainment and starts feeling like exposure. As more people broke down the new clips, another detail began to stand out, something that hadn't been fully noticed before. A pattern, not random moments stitched together, but a structure that seemed to guide the narrative in a very specific direction. Moments of tension, moments of conflict, moments where emotions looked uncontrolled, moments where the situation felt far less stable than the public image people were used to seeing. When those clips were placed side by side, a different story started to form. And that's when the conversation shifted again. Because now people weren't just asking what they were watching. They were asking why they were being shown this version of events. One viral comment summed up the growing suspicion perfectly. This isn't just footage, this is editing with intent. And once that idea spread, everything changed. Now the debate wasn't just about what happened. It was about how it was being presented. And more importantly, why? Behind the scenes, the pressure reportedly started rising even further. According to insider chatter, TI's camp wasn't just reacting anymore. They were allegedly discussing stronger responses, legal steps, strategic moves, and attempts to regain control over how the situation was unfolding publicly. Because at a certain point, it stops being about online discussion. It becomes about narrative control. Who shapes it? Who controls it? And whether it can be contained at all. When legal involvement enters the picture, everything accelerates. Silence becomes strategy. Statements become carefully measured. And every move starts carrying consequences. Even though nothing official has been confirmed, the fact that these discussions are even being mentioned shows how serious the situation has become behind the scenes. Then another twist hit the internet. A post started circulating and disappeared almost as quickly, but not before being screenshotted and spread everywhere. It claimed that King Harris didn't just reach out once. He reached out again. And this time, according to the post, the tone was even more urgent than before. Not just concern, not just pressure, but emotional escalation. The alleged message reportedly emphasized something along the lines of, "This isn't just affecting me anymore. This is affecting my whole family." That idea changed the way people were interpreting everything. Because now the situation wasn't just about leaked footage or documentary content. It was about real-world consequences, real relationships, real emotional fallout. And that raises the stakes in a way social media debates can't contain. And just when it felt like things might stabilize, another rumor started spreading. This one wasn't about new clips already released. It was about something still hidden. A final piece of footage. A clip that, according to unverified claims, has not yet been shown publicly. And the reason it's being held back? Because it allegedly changes the entire context of everything seen so far. Now, this isn't the first time people have heard claims like that. But this time, the reaction is different. Slower, more cautious, more uneasy. Because the pattern of escalation has already played out multiple times, each wave of content shifting the conversation further than the last. So the idea that there is still one final piece waiting in the background doesn't feel like empty hype anymore. It feels possible. And that possibility is what's keeping the tension alive. Now the questions have become unavoidable. What is in that final clip? Why hasn't it been released yet? And what happens if it does come out? Because if the content already released was enough to divide audiences, spark debates, and trigger backlash, then anything beyond this point doesn't just continue the story. It risks redefining it entirely. And that's why everything feels like it's hanging in suspension right now. No clear ending. No confirmed truth. Just escalating fragments of a situation that keeps expanding every time people think it's stabilizing. And at the center of it all is a growing realization. This is no longer just about a documentary. It's about control, perception, and consequences that are still unfolding in real time. Because until that final piece is revealed or confirmed not to exist, this story isn't resolving. It's still building. And nobody can say with certainty what direction it's about to take next. The reaction didn't just grow, it exploded. Within minutes, the entire internet lit up like a circuit overloaded. Every platform was hit at once. Twitter X turned into a non-stop debate zone. TikTok turned emotional with breakdowns, reactions, and stitched commentary flooding every scroll. YouTube creators rushed to drop instant analysis videos, some uploading within the hour. And across all of it, one question kept repeating like a broken record. Has this finally gone too far? At first, the crowd was still split. Some people treated it like just another entertainment storm, another viral cycle that would fade in a day or two. But something about this one felt heavier. The tone had changed. It didn't feel like gossip anymore, it felt like exposure. And that shift changed everything about how people were reacting. On one side, supporters of 50 Cent stood firm. They argued this wasn't cruelty, it was transparency. "Y'all only mad because it's uncomfortable," one viral comment read. "Truth isn't supposed to feel good. If it's real, it deserves to be seen." That mindset spread fast, gaining traction across comment sections and reposts. To them, this was just raw reality finally coming to light. But the pushback was just as loud, and this time even sharper. Critics weren't holding back anymore. "This isn't exposing anything, this is exploiting people," one comment said. "Why is a family being turned into content like this?" Another added. "This stopped being entertainment a long time ago. Now it's just uncomfortable." And that side started gaining momentum fast because more viewers were beginning to feel the same unease. What made this moment different was that people weren't just debating facts anymore. They were debating boundaries. Where is the line between truth and invasion? Between storytelling and intrusion? And more importantly, had that line already been crossed without anyone realizing it? As the online fire grew, the industry itself started reacting louder than expected. Not the usual vague posts or cryptic captions. This time, people spoke directly. One rapper went live and didn't hold back. "I don't care who it is, that ain't right," he said. "You don't handle people's lives like content." Within hours, another artist responded from a completely different angle. "If it's the truth, why are y'all scared of it coming out?" That single contrast reignited everything. Suddenly, the industry wasn't just watching, it was divided down the middle. The emotional temperature kept rising. It wasn't calm disagreement anymore. It was frustration, suspicion, and confusion all colliding at once. People weren't just arguing about what was shown, they were questioning why it was being shown at all. Then came one of the most viral reactions of the entire wave. A media personality, known for usually staying neutral, broke that pattern completely. "This situation feels like something we're not supposed to be seeing," they said. "And that's exactly why it's blowing up." That one statement changed the tone instantly, because it introduced a new idea into the conversation, that maybe the problem wasn't just the content itself, but the fact that it was never meant to be public in the first place. And once that idea spread, everything shifted again. Now the audience wasn't just watching clips, they were questioning the existence of the clips. Why were these moments recorded? Why were they being released now? And who decided that this should be public? At the same time, online detectives went into full breakdown mode. TikTok and YouTube became investigation hubs. People slowed down clips, compared timelines, analyzed facial expressions, and pointed out edits frame by frame. Some claimed they noticed inconsistencies, moments where conversations seemed cut, reactions that felt incomplete, or transitions that didn't align naturally. "This clip cuts off right before something important," one viral breakdown said. "They're only showing one side of this." Another added, "There's something missing here. This doesn't feel like the full story." Whether accurate or not, these interpretations fueled even more doubt. And the more people dissected it, the more complicated everything became. The conversation shifted from "what happened" to "what are we not seeing?" But in the middle of all this chaos, one thing stood out more than anything else: silence. No full statement from T.I. No direct clarification from King Harris. No detailed explanation from 50 Cent. Just silence. And that silence became louder than any clip or comment. Because when a situation reaches this level of attention and nobody steps in to clarify it, the internet starts filling in the gaps itself, and rarely in a calm way. Comments flooded everywhere. "Say something, clear this up, WH. Why is nobody speaking?" The demand for answers became overwhelming, but still nothing came. And that absence only deepened the tension. Because at this point, silence didn't feel neutral anymore. It felt intentional, like something was still unfolding behind the scenes that the public wasn't ready to see. Then another wave hit. A few high-profile voices, people who usually avoid controversy, began hinting that this situation might not end quietly. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. This isn't just drama anymore. This has consequences. That word, consequences, changed the energy again, because it shifted the conversation from entertainment to impact, from online discussion to real-world fallout. Now people weren't just asking what was happening, they were asking what happens next. Will T.I. respond? Will King Harris speak publicly? Will 50 Cent continue releasing content? Or is something bigger about to break behind the scenes? Nobody had answers, and that uncertainty is what made everything feel unstable. Because when millions of people are watching the same situation unfold, but nobody has the full picture, tension builds on its own. Every silence becomes a clue. Every delay becomes suspicious. Every new leak feels like a continuation of something unfinished. And just when it felt like things couldn't escalate further, the situation shifted again. Late at night, a leaked screenshot began circulating. It wasn't a video. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't even confirmed. Just an image allegedly showing a private exchange tied to the situation, possibly connected to King Harris's attempt to stop everything from escalating. Within minutes, it spread everywhere. People zoomed in, dissected it, debated its authenticity. Some said it was fake. Others insisted it matched earlier claims. But in reality, none of that mattered because by the time questions started forming, the screenshot had already done its job. It reignited everything. Because once again, the conversation wasn't about what was proven. It was about what was possible. And in a situation this unstable, even possibility feels like fuel. And now, with every new leak, every reaction, every silence, the pressure keeps stacking higher with no clear end in sight. The screenshot alone was enough to shake everything. According to multiple reposts circulating across social media, the image allegedly showed a message from someone believed to be King Harris. The text read, "This not just content to me, this my real life. If more of this come out, it's going to mess up everything around me." Now, whether that message is actually from him or not, nobody can confirm it. But what made people stop scrolling wasn't proof, it was emotion. The tone felt raw, stressed, almost like someone speaking under pressure rather than posting for attention. And that's exactly why it hit so hard online. Because suddenly, this wasn't about clips anymore. It wasn't about a documentary rollout or viral moments. It became something else entirely, consequences. Real-life consequences tied to real people, not just internet narratives. And if that message reflects even a fraction of what's happening behind the scenes, then the situation is way deeper than anyone originally thought. But things didn't stop there. Shortly after the screenshot started gaining traction, another rumor exploded online, this time claiming that 50 Cent had already seen the message and chose not to respond. If true, that changes the entire energy of the situation. Because now it's no longer just confusion or miscommunication. It starts to look like a standoff. One side allegedly trying to slow things down, the other side continuing forward without hesitation. And when neither side moves, tension doesn't disappear, it builds. Then came the next wave. Another claim started circulating quietly at first, then spreading everywhere. The next part of the documentary may already be scheduled for release. Scheduled. Not random, not leaked, planned. And that one word changed how people were looking at everything. Because if this is truly scheduled content, then nothing happening right now is accidental. The clips, the reactions, the debates, even the silence, it all becomes part of a larger rollout strategy. And that makes the situation feel less like chaos and more like something unfolding step by step. That realization is what made everything feel heavier. Now people aren't just reacting to what's already out, they're waiting for what's next. And that's where the tension really spikes, because nobody knows what the next drop contains. Nobody knows who it affects or how deep it goes. And if what's already been released caused this level of reaction, then whatever comes next could completely flip the entire narrative. That's why the questions are getting louder. What's in the next part? Is there more footage still hidden? And if it drops, does it clear things up or make everything worse? Because right now, nothing feels settled, nothing feels confirmed, everything still feels like it's moving. And in the middle of all this, one thing becomes obvious: this story is far from finished. The situation has moved past simple online drama. It's now sitting in that uncomfortable space between public curiosity and private consequences. Every new post adds pressure. Every silence adds suspicion. Every rumor adds fuel. And that's why people are split down the middle. Some believe if there's truth in the footage, it deserves to be seen no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Others feel like a line has already been crossed, that a real family's life is being turned into ongoing content for entertainment. And that disagreement is what's keeping this situation alive. Because there's no shared answer anymore, no agreed boundary, just two sides both convinced they're right. So now the conversation shifts away from what happened and toward what should happen next. Should it continue? Should it stop? Or has it already gone too far? And while everyone debates that, the silence from the key people involved only makes things louder. No clear statement, no final clarification, just space for more speculation to grow. That's what makes this moment feel so unstable. It's not just what's being shown, it's what's not being said. And right now, that silence feels like it's holding the entire situation in suspense. Because one way or another, something is coming next. Another clip, another statement, another leak, or maybe a response that finally shifts everything. But until that happens, the internet stays stuck in the same position, watching, guessing, and waiting for the next move. And the real question now isn't just what's true. It's how much more is still left to come.